stand by.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Q3 UMPIP webinar series titled Saving for Your Future Self. My name is Todd Creviston, and I'm a benefit educator at Wespath. I'm joined here today with Cheryl Hatcher, who's
Hello.
also a benefit educator.
Yes.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Excellent.
So today, the webinar will last approximately an hour. And what we'd like to do also later is to introduce a special guest from our customer solutions department. She'll come in and provide some valuable insight in what customer service does each day for our participants. Today will be recorded, and then we are going to send you that recording via email, along with a couple of documents that are useful in getting prepped for that retirement period. And that email should arrive to you in about 2 to 3 days. Mm-hmm. So to begin with, we first like to start talking about Wespath. So Wespath Benefits and Investment is a not-for-profit organization. It's an agency of the United Methodist Church. There's approximately $25 billion in assets under management. That is a huge number, and we take that very seriously. The next number, 100,000 participants. That includes active clergy, retirees, active lay like Cheryl and I and the folks that work at Wespath, and then also surviving spouses. So Wespath maintains the largest faith-based pension fund in the world. The blue box or the green box at the bottom, the slides have changed. The blue box at the bottom is our mission statement. And this is what gets us out of bed each day. So caring for those who serve by providing investment and benefit services that honor the mission and principles of the United Methodist Church. I also like to call out the picture on the right. That's a picture of our prairie in our backyard of the Wespath headquarters located in Glenview, Illinois. It looks just like that today with the beautiful flowers out in the prairie. Our presenters today will be myself, Todd Creviston, and then Cheryl Hatcher. Bob Christoffel is actually manning the question box today. So if you have any questions, feel free to enter that into the question box, and Bob will manage or answer those questions for you. And then we also have Frank O'Brien, who's not on the webinar with us today. So UMPIP, we'll review what UMPIP is, talk about advantages to participation, why should you participate. We'll talk about the different contribution options and the different ways to contribute. Cheryl will then cover investment options, how to access your account, and then we'll also bring in Bree Hoffman from customer service to review some participant questions that they receive each day. And then we'll conclude the webinar with participant resources and show you what each of those look like. So UMPIP is known as a defined contribution plan, or a 403B retirement savings plan, okay? That's an account balance, so your contributions go into your account balance. You can see your account balance on a regular basis by logging into Benefits Access. We hope that everyone is registered for Benefits Access. If you're not, that would be the first step, is to go ahead and get registered so that you can see your account balances and see all the wonderful tools inside of your Benefits Access account. UMPIP accepts contributions from both participant and employer. Okay, so there might be an employer contribution. Would encourage you to check into that. You have the option to determine how your account is invested. So you can actually select Life Stage Investment Management, which places your account on autopilot, or you can also self-manage, and that means you select the funds that your contributions go into from your paycheck. So those are two different options, providing different ways to save and different ways to manage your account balances. And then in retirement, UMPIP is flexible in that you can determine how much you wanted to take out on a regular basis, and there's a couple other ways to do that as well. So we'll cover all of that. So these are 5 important advantages to participation. At the very top, you can save on taxes. And how you save is based on the type of contributions that you make. For example, before tax contributions means just that. The money that you contribute comes off your paycheck before you pay taxes, thereby reducing your federal tax bill each year. That money, those contributions, grow tax deferred until you take a distribution in retirement. Another option are Roth contributions. This means that you're making a Roth contribution to your UMPIP account. That's an after-tax contribution, and I'll have more on that later, but it's possible to avoid paying federal taxes on Roth contributions in retirement. There's 2 autopilot solutions: LifeStage Investment Management, that manages your account balance and active service, and also retirement. And then LifeStage Retirement Income is a distribution management tool. Both of these are offered to you at no additional cost. That LifeStage Retirement Income actually calculates a monthly payment for you from your account balances. You should check to see if your employer provides contributions to your account. Wespath also promotes environmental stewardship, human rights, and sound corporate governance to create long-term value. And at the bottom, we can't say enough of great things about EY. EY Financial Planning Services is available to you at no additional cost. They are there to provide answers to easy questions like should I rent, or should I lease a car, or should I buy a car? Or they could actually come up with or design a comprehensive financial plan for you, including any outside investments that you may have or your spouse may have. So they are a wonderful resource. So now we talk a little bit more about UMPIP. So there might be employer contributions, and these are 4 common employer contribution types. First is a matching contribution, and that's a percentage of a participant's contribution up to a percent of compensation. Okay, so if you put in 3%, they'll put in 3%. Non-match is just a fixed percent of compensation. You'll get that for just participating in the plan. A conditional contribution is a percent of participant compensation if the participant contributes at least a predetermined percent of compensation. And then discretionary, it's at the it's an optional contribution from your employer. So if you're interested in that, you could check in with your HR department, with your employer, to see if there are employer matching contributions available.
Okay.
With the employer contributions, there's an important term. That term is known as vesting. And vesting means ownership. That means that you own that money. And you'll see that your personal contributions are always 100% vested. With your employer contributions, there are 3 options for vesting schedules. The first vesting schedule is immediate. That means as soon as those employer contributions get deposited in your account, your UMPIP account, that's your money. So if you were to leave, if you were to terminate, you would be able to take those contributions with you. Another vesting schedule is a 5-year graded. And a 5-year graded schedule is just a fixed percentage of those contributions become 100% vested each year. So after 5 years, then you're 100% vested in all of your employer contributions, and that's true going forward as well. And then a cliff schedule, that just means it becomes vested at a particular point in time, a year, 18 months, 36 months. So if you have employer contributions, the next question would be to ask, what's the vesting schedule? What's the ownership schedule? So as a participant in UMPIP, you have flexibility and control over how much you want to contribute. And you typically can begin contributing your money or your personal contributions from your paycheck into your account close to hire. So if you're hired in August, you can typically begin the first of the following month. So you can contribute on a percent basis, so 1%, 2%, 5% of your pay, or you can contribute on a dollar basis, $100, $200 a paycheck. You can also change that along the way. You can determine how that money is vested. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. So you can self-manage your investments. So that just means that you pick your funds and then you determine how much of your contributions go into each of those funds. That's called allocation. And then Life Stage Investment Management makes those allocation choices for you and also selects the funds for you based on your Life Stage Investment Management profile, which is you'd enroll in that in your benefits access account. So here are two of the most common personal contribution scenarios on a before tax basis and a Roth basis. Which one's right for you, or maybe even a combination? We would suggest asking EY or your financial advisor what is best for you and what that looks like for you. So before tax contribution, that means you avoid paying taxes now. So your contributions go into your account before you pay taxes on those. Those contributions grow tax deferred until you take a distribution. When you take a distribution, you'll be taxed as ordinary income, but if you're clergy, you'll also have the ability to exclude some of that in retirement from taxes based on the housing allowance exclusion. Roth contributions are a form of after-tax contribution. So that means that you've paid your taxes, those contributions go into your account, go into your funds, they grow tax-free until you take a distribution. But if you meet both of the criteria in bullet point 2, that distribution will be tax-free. So the first qualifying factor is your first contribution needs to be made at least 5 years before you begin withdrawing. And then you must be at least 59 and a half years of age or older. Meeting both of those criteria, that Roth distribution is tax-free. So I would suggest having a conversation with EY to see what's best for you. Here are the 2024 contribution limits. We'll find out what 2025 is probably October, November of this year. The IRS sets these, and they typically index this up a little bit each year. You'll see that for before tax and Roth combined, the total is $23,000. If you're over the age of 50, you can contribute an additional $7,500 in catch-up contributions for a total of $30,500. Sometimes when we do these presentations to large groups, you can actually see some folks in the audience recoil when they see that you can contribute that much money. So don't be disappointed. What we recommend is to contribute what you can reasonably afford and then make a plan to increase that over time. For example, my wife and I have a pact that each time we get a raise, we go to our respective plans and increase our contribution by 1%. Over 10, 12 years of employment at a particular organization, you can really start racking up those contributions. My wife and I also paid two summers ago, we paid off a car. So now we had extra money. We actually increased my wife's contribution to her plan by 1%. So you can look at other ways to find money, and EY can also help you set up a budget, which also might help identify some savings that you can then contribute to your UMPIP account. So you can increase this or decrease this at any time throughout the year. Life happens, so if you need to lower it, you can. But we also suggest to increase it when you're able. The fourth way to contribute, or actually The fourth way to contribute would be rollovers. So a rollover is essentially moving one account to the other. So if you have a traditional IRA or an IRS qualified plan from another employer, for example, a 401k or a 403b, you're able to roll that money from where it's located today at that investment company. You can actually roll that into your UMPIP account. You would do that using an incoming rollover form, and there's two ways to do the rollover: the direct rollover and an indirect rollover. The direct rollover is a non-taxable transaction, and essentially you're moving the money from the existing company and rolling it directly into UMPIP here at Wespath. An indirect rollover would mean that you receive that distribution and then you'd forward that to Wespath to contribute to your UMPIP account. In that example, however, you see that there's some federal income tax that's withheld, so it's a little bit more involved. If you're unsure of which type of rollover is best for you, EY is a terrific resource to help you identify that. So at this point, I would like to turn it over to Cheryl, and she will continue with what it looks like to invest in your account.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Todd. You did a great job explaining all of those terms and giving a good recap of what UMPIP is. So let's talk a little bit more about investing your account. So Todd had talked about this a little bit earlier, but what we want to do is we are actually investing sustainably. We're thinking about looking at the long term, not just the short term. So over the course of time, how is this account going to continue to increase for you? We do uphold the values of the church. So regarding the social principles of the church, so we don't invest in alcohol or tobacco. There's different types of companies that do not align with the values of the church. So that's where we are upholding the values. Diversified investments, we are looking at investments from all different kinds of companies, whether that's medium or small, large-sized companies, as well as different vocations such as manufacturing, in IT, all sorts of different of funds that we have that we're looking at and are invested in. Because we are have competitive returns relative to our benchmark, we don't have any of that commission based. So we have low commissions. So we're not advertising during the Super Bowl. So we're able to keep the money in the fund where it should be, and so it's more money for you. And then I'll also talk a little bit more about life stage investment management. Todd talked briefly about that earlier, and I'll go into a little bit more detail as we continue on. This is a wonderful slide that I love to be able to show. It's our risk versus potential return slide. It shows all of the funds that we have, starting with the lowest, which still has some value being added to it, is in the stable value fund. That's one of our lower type of funds where it's the most conservative. And then as you work your way up the chart, international equity funds is going to be the most potential for return, but it also has the most potential or the most risk in this as well. Just to add in here, we did add in a new account this year, the U.S. Equity Index Fund, so you can see where that lies on this graph as well. Now here's our different investment options. So again, Todd touched on this a little bit earlier, but you have your choice of actually doing your own mix for your investment funds. Again, where you're self-managing, you decide what you want to do. With that, we also have you can contact EY Financial Planning for assistance on that as well. So that can be for both you doing your own mix or us doing it for you with the life stage investment management. So that's where, as Todd had mentioned earlier, we're putting those accounts on autopilot, and They let the system does it for you. If you were to be in life stage investment management, you are in good company. We have about 80% of our people who are actually in life stage investment management. So it's a wonderful program that you can have your money in and have it grow for you. So let's talk a little bit more about life stage investment management. So what is this? It's actually a personalized management tool for all of your defined contribution accounts, which UMPIP is one of. We talk about setting your accounts on autopilot. Once you have set up a particular personal management profile, and it's based on all of these different variables that are listed here, such as your age, your risk tolerance, your Social Security benefits. The expected commencement date would be for people who have the MPP benefit. So these factors all are different for each individual person. So it's going to be different for you, different for me, different from Todd. So that is going to be different for your personal management tool. So that is where it determines what funds should be tailored for you and what funds you should actually be in. So it's, for example, you might want to be in whatever you deem as being tailored for you. This is also based on your conservative or moderate or an aggressive investor. So all of those different factors come into play when having this tool. So when you have this tool, it actually is created and creates that investment portfolio that's customized for each individual person. So it actually sets that asset allocation and it's reviewed quarterly based on your birth date. So say, for example, you are in these funds and we have about 70% that is in equities and about 30% that's in bonds. So when that quarterly time period comes and we get to the 3 months later, each next quarter, and maybe your amounts have come down. So instead of 70% for stocks, it's actually at 60% for stocks, which means the bonds are at 40. We need to get you back to where we feel that you should be in order to be the optimized allocation for you. So we're going to sell off some of the sell off some of the bonds that we have and put it back into the stocks. So that's where it comes into play to have it rebalanced. All right. And this actually happens while you're in active service, but you can also have this when you're in retirement as well. So it's a really wonderful type of management program that it's not one of those types of plans that you just, all right, I'm in this and then I forget about it. It's continually working behind the scenes to make sure that your money is being optimized the best way for you based on your profile. And speaking of that profile, if you haven't set up a personal investment profile and that we have in our system, you can actually set that up through Benefits Access, which we will talk about different things about Benefits Access that you can, our customer solutions team can do. But if you haven't set one up, we are automatically going to default you into what's called the default. So a moderate risk tolerance with a benefit commencement age of 65 and that you're eligible for Social Security. If any of those factors are different for you, then definitely contact our customer solutions team and we can have that personal investment profile updated for you so it matches what your actual risk and profile should be. So now I want to talk a little bit more about the access of your funds prior to retirement. We're going to get into this a little bit later on as well, but a couple of factors that we want to talk about is so as Todd had talked about, the money being vested, that's your money. So your funds, the money going in from your paycheck, that is money that is 100% vested and that's yours. And potentially any employer money, if you have that, could be invested as well. So that money is yours, and we know that life happens. Life happens, and possibly you need to take some of that money out. This money is there, and you can do that. we definitely encourage you to contact EY. They will be able to help you through if this is a good idea, if possibly there might be another solution for you. But one thing that I want to just talk about, and we'll again talk about it a little bit in just a little bit as well. Hardship loans is one that is not common in the industry. That's something that we at Wespath do, and I don't want to say only us, but it's a program where you can actually borrow your own money. So a novel concept, right? Where you actually borrow your own money. You do need to pay it back, and you will pay yourself interest back, but it goes directly back to you, not to anybody else, not to Wespath, not to another financial institution, back to you. You will be potentially sacrificing some of your funds in retirement, so your salary in retirement. But again, that's where having the interest paid back, that actually helps get that money back up to where it was to start with, okay? So all of these are different options for you that you can access during prior to retirement. But again, when we actually are going into retirement, that's when we'll talk about that as well. So here it is. You're at retirement age, and you actually you're actually going to be taking some of that money back out in retirement. You've got options. Some people can actually take a full or partial lump sum, but what a lot of people do is they actually take what's called a cash installment. Now, cash installments are going to be monthly amounts that are paid to you each month. And you have a couple different ways that you can do that. You can tell us how much you want to have each month. Do you want maybe $1,000 one month, or maybe $500 the next month, and maybe the next month after that, $5,000? You tell us. That's self-managing your money. Or you can actually let life stage retirement income actually determine what would be the best amount for you to receive in retirement. And that life stage retirement income is a wonderful service, award-winning service that we have here at Wespath, and it sets that money on letting you know how much you can actually take out for your lifetime. So I like to call this I have a couple examples here. You either like the Goldilocks approach. We don't want you to take money out too fast. We don't want you to take money out too slow. We want you to take it out just right. Okay, so right in that payment safety zone. Okay, and also for life stage retirement income, you also have money that you can have based on three ways. You have that money that you can take out monthly. You have money that you can set aside and receive and do the Social Security bridge. Or we also have what's called the longevity income protection. That's another factor that you can have that's all encompassed in all of this. If you have questions regarding any of this information, definitely contact us, the Benefit Education team. You can contact the Customer Solution team or even EY. They will walk you through this as well. Now, when you're in retirement, you can actually take that distribution or you can leave the money on account and actually not take it until you've reached the required minimum distribution age or the RMD age. So that's different factors to think about. We're here to help you through any of that. And then also, since this is a defined contribution plan, any money that you have at the end of this, at the time of your passing, that money would be transferred over to your beneficiaries that you have on file. Hence another reason why you want to make sure that those beneficiaries are updated appropriately. Okay? So now we are going to introduce Bree Hoffman. Bree, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so Bree has been here let's tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been with Wespath?
I have been at Wespath since April of 2022, so almost 3 years now.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful, excellent. So, so part of the customer solutions team, right? Customer solutions, yeah. So, what kind of questions? So I know we've got some questions that we're going to go through here. So, some of the things that we're going to go through, and one of them here is actually participant data. Okay. So, like, what kind of questions do you actually get from some participants?
Yeah, so these kind of questions can kind of range from anywhere from, hey, I got married, how do I add my spouse, or updating personal contact information such as an address, an email, phone number, to updating beneficiaries so that all of that's up to date. So that for participant data, that can kind of range, a large range, but it does take up a lot of our calls.
I bet
a
it
lot
does.
of people call for assistance with that, and we can walk you through it. A lot of that can actually be updated on Benefits Access. So if you, like Todd said earlier, if you're registered, that's great. We definitely want all of our participants to get registered if they can. And we can always help you with that process as well.
Okay, great. So that's definitely something that you can actually walk through them on the call yourself. So so they can actually be on Benefits Access themselves.
Yes.
Okay, and then then you can actually see in real time, the updates. Is that correct?
So what we can do is that if you call in, we can assist you with getting logged in or registered if you haven't done so already. And then from there, we can show you where in the profile tab you can update your personal information, where you can update your beneficiaries, and then I can confirm on my end that it's transferred over to our system, and I can confirm that it's been updated. There are some other processes that, we can give you paperwork if online's not working for you, but we're definitely there to help and get that updated and go over those processes.
Great. So I bet you get a lot of different calls, a lot of different situations that come up. Anything regarding this participant data that you can think of?
Yeah, I'd say we definitely get a lot of beneficiary updates, which, that's always a big thing, always making sure your beneficiaries are up to date and their contact info is up to date. Our beneficiaries, I think the page on Benefits Access sometimes trips people up a little bit. So a lot of times, we'll get a call and say, I'm on this beneficiary page, but I'm not sure how to update. I see the names, but I'm not sure how to update it. So I have a very specific way of walking those people. I'm like, do you see where it says manage? Yes, okay, click there. And then kind of just going through step by step and confirming, do you see this? Now click here. Now scroll a little this way. And a lot of the times once they finish, like, wow, that was really easy. But our site is very self-sufficient, and it's very user-friendly once you're in it. So whenever people call, they'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't want to bother you. It's not a bother. That's what we're here for. And the more you call and ask us for help, the more you'd be able to do it on your own later. And that's what our goal is, for everybody to be able to use our online portal.
Exactly. So like Todd mentioned in the beginning, in that green box, we're here to help those who serve.
Yeah.
And no question is a silly question. We're here to help with those, and we're very fortunate to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a lot of good people that we talk to. And how many blessings do you get in a day or a
More
week?
than I can count.
Exactly.
I think I'm good for the rest of my life.
Exactly.
Yes, I've always found that when you're out presenting or out working with the participants, the clergy, two things happen. They always thank you, they always bless you,
Yes.
and they always comment how valuable the resources they have
Yes.
from Wespath are to them.
Correct.
Yes. In customer service in general, a lot of people tend to focus on a negative or what didn't happen. I feel like working here at Wespath and the participants that we work with every day, they're very grateful, always very grateful, always positive, always willing to provide positive feedback. So it's definitely an honor to be able to work with them and speak with them every day.
Yes,
Wonderful.
we hear
Yes.
quite a bit from clergy that they say, well, this financial portion isn't my gift. My gift is to love people. My gift is to bring people in.
Yes.
And I always respond back, well, you have the gift of Wespath to help you with those resources and help you
Exactly.
with that process.
Exactly. And I can't tell you how many times we get told that, that they're just so appreciative, so helpful, that we're here for them. So that's wonderful. And that's, again, why we get up every morning. We love doing what we do. So another topic that we're going to talk about is what are my distribution options? So so I know that I had a slide up earlier about all the different distribution options you can have prior to retirement. when when you have a distribution option, when you're in retirement, that's different. But Bree, can you talk through some situations that maybe you've had talking about distributions?
Yeah, so distribution calls are, I'd say, definitely in the top two of type of calls that we get. So a lot of people call them just kind of curious what they have access to, and it can be a bit confusing if you're not fully aware of your plans and how they work. And in customer solutions, you can always give us a call. You can work with EY as well, and we can go over, if you're 59 and a half and you have your personal contributions, you can take those as a distribution. As you mentioned earlier, Cheryl, our loan feature is, I'd say, unheard of. A lot of the times, I'll walk people through, and it's a little different than taking a loan just from your bank or something like that. As you said, you get to borrow from yourself. You're paying yourself back the interest and the principal to promote that growth that you're missing out on from taking those funds out of the stock market. You get to set the term based on the type of loan you take. So that option, I definitely, whenever people call in and say, I need this money, what can I do? We kind of will go through, look at your account, look at the type of account you have, your age, type of contributions you have, and we can kind of go over those in service, hardship withdrawal, loans, and then when you're in an inactive status, as you stated, partial or lump sums, those cash installments. A lot of people definitely take that advantage of the cash installments, and as you should. So any questions like that, we're always willing to, walk you through, and that can be set up on Benefits Access as well. A lot of our calls are what we call BA walkthroughs, so kind of walking you through step by step. I can see it on my screen, you see it on your screen, and we kind of go step through step and then can confirm at the end that everything's submitted properly. And just that way, you become more confident using the site on your own, as well as we can see that everything was submitted and give you time frames and everything like that.
That's wonderful. Such a great resource, because it's been talked about that is sometimes customer service departments or customer solutions, it's maybe on the little bit of a negative side.
Yeah.
But there's thousands of cases where, it's just where you guys have been able to help, and you guys are technically at the front line. You get, you're the first, line of people coming into us at Wespath, and so if they have, and they will have a good experience with you guys, then they'll, it just helps make it a better experience for the rest of us, because for distribution options, we talked about the hardship loan. We're kind of, talking a little bit more about that because it is a unique situation. And so some of the factors with that is you can actually borrow up to 50% of your vested balance, up to $50,000, and with a minimum of $1,000. And then you can actually take money out on a 15-year basis if it's for a primary residence,
Yes.
right? And then also a 5-year if it's for any other purpose other than that. So you pay the money back. If you're not able to pay it back within that time frame, then it's considered a distribution. But again, we just want to talk a little bit more about that, since it's a really great program that's available.
It is, and a lot of people always ask, when they're trying to determine the term that they should do. Our tool online is actually very great because you can kind of play with it and get your numbers, so you can see if I want a $10,000 loan for 1 year, for 3 years, for 5 years. You can kind of see what your payment would be before you even submit, which is a really nice thing, because then you can kind of see what payment's comfortable for you, what's going to work for you. Before submitting that. So you set that term, and another big question we always get is, well, what if I want to pay it back early, before the 5 years? And that's another great feature of our loan, is there's not a penalty for doing so. So, you can take your loan, and because maybe you need to do a home repair or you need to buy a new car, whatever the case may be causing you hardship, you can take that loan, and then maybe a year down the line you have the means to pay it back and you don't want to do it on a monthly basis. There's no penalty for doing so. So it really is a really great program.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, definitely. And now in retirement, if you want to take that money out in retirement, there's lots of different options for you, as we talked about, you're self-managing, or if you want to do life stage retirement income, again, award-winning, program that we have here. We're very proud of it. But that's something that you in customer service or customer solutions is able to review with them as well.
Yes, correct. So we can always not only go over what your options are and kind of explain the differences and the benefits to each option, but we, again, can show you how to request it online. And if online, it's not for everybody, we do have some paper form options that by calling Customer Solutions, we can kind of go through that process with you and explain time frame between online and not online, and walk you through those forms as well once you receive them, if that's the route that you choose to go.
All right, wonderful. A lot of great information there, Bree, so thank you so much. Another topic that we're going to talk about is how can I roll money into Wespath? It's a big question that I'm sure that Bree, you and your team wind up getting. So feel free to talk about a scenario with that, and then I can talk through the actual process that we have.
Of course. So we do get we have all these cool opportunities such as the loans and the life stage and all of that. So people like to consolidate their plans and have everything in one place. You don't have a little bit of money in 4 different institutions. So the first thing that we'll do is ask them if they know the plan type that they have. So if you have a traditional IRA, a 403B, a 401k, confirm that it is one of our eligible incoming rollover plan types. From there, we'll go over the process with them. We'll get that incoming rollover form sent out to them, and then we kind of go over timing. So once we send that out, they send it in with their prior account statement, and then any paperwork that their institution may require. Once we receive that, our retirement services team will then process the form. We send out that letter of acceptance, and once it's sent in to us, they'll be able to see it on their account. By logging into Benefits Access, you'll be able to then see once that check was received and it's in the account there.
Yeah, that's a really great synopsis. So what I have to add to that is that I am the rollover specialist here at Wespath. So any rollovers that come in actually come to me. I'm the one who actually receives those forms. So it's great that it starts with customer solutions, and then what I do is if they don't have the forms already, the incoming rollover form, I make sure that they are email that information. And then they fill out the form. If they have any questions, they'll have my contact information as is listed on the screen as well. So my contact information for if they have questions how to fill out the form or if they have questions later on. Once they fill out that form, send it back to me or to our retirement services team. Then what I do, as Bree had mentioned, I fill out what's called a letter of acceptance. And that letter of acceptance then is mailed to the financial institution that's listed on the rollover form. So that if it winds up being like an Edward Jones or a principal, those are different types of financial institutions. So what I do is I mail that information along with the letter of acceptance, the rollover form, and any other statements that we might have received from the participant. Mail that all off to the financial institution. And then since it is a mailing process, and then we do need to receive a mailed check back to us, then the process can take anywhere between, let's say, 3 to 5 weeks or so. I usually do my follow-ups around 5 weeks. If we haven't received it by then I follow up with the participant and say, hey, have you heard anything? Because maybe sometimes the check is sent to them. And like the rollover that process that Todd had talked about earlier, it could still be considered a direct rollover even if the check is sent to the participant, but the check would need to be mailed or addressed to Wespath with what's called FBO, this is for benefit of, and then the participant's name. Mm-hmm. So if it says that, then all the participant needs to do is just transfer that money back over to us at Wespath. They don't need to sign the check. They just put it in an envelope, send it off to us, and we will get that back into your UMPIP account. Okay. If we haven't received that check within, let's say, 5 weeks, then I follow up with the participant, and then maybe we will do a conference call with the financial institution to see maybe some additional information is needed from us or from the participant, so that we can get that process going and make sure that they have everything that they need. So that's the rollover process. So, but it's another great way to actually get transition money into your UMPIP account. Okay. All right. So our last topic that we're going to talk about for the top participant solution calls or customer solution calls is if you have more specific questions regarding their personal situations. So I know, Bree, when you talk with different people, they tend to go down maybe types of questions that maybe you're not able to answer fully, or they get a little bit too specific to their particular situation. So how are some of those questions that you can help with and any situations that you have?
Yeah, so most calls will start with questions I can't answer. And then once, you're talking a little bit more, maybe then that's when it's going to gear towards I may have to defer to some, EY or maybe the benefit educators to go in. So, for example, I had a call a couple months ago where a participant was just calling to see, I believe he just wanted to know what his monthly pension payment was going to be that month, just to confirm the amount. And he had a UMPIP account balance as well as his clergy pension. Throughout our discussion, he had mentioned he was under the impression that that monthly pension that he received every month was being deducted from his UMPIP account balance, which is not true. Those are two separate accounts. You have a defined benefit account and then our UMPIP, which is a defined contribution account. So for the past, I believe it was over a decade, he was under this impression that he was slowly depleting his account balances by receiving that monthly amount. And when I informed him, no, those are completely separate. Even if you took that full account balance out, you're still going to receive that pension payment every month. This poor guy completely broke down in tears because he and his wife had been living so frugally for the last decade, trying to save up their money, not spend it, make sure that they have it, and they have money to pass on to their kids and their grandkids. He had told me that they've been driving a 30-year-old car that was on its last leg, which probably wasn't safe for them, but they just couldn't, they didn't want to ruin their future by spending money that he thought that they didn't have. His wife, he said, had been wanting a bicycle for like her last 4 birthdays so that he didn't want to spend the money, So he was so excited and so grateful, realizing that not only was he receiving that pension, but being able to fully understand his distribution options from the UMPIP. And that was one of like the most rewarding calls I'd say I've had, because he didn't want to call, and as he said, he's like, I don't want to be a burden and call and have somebody explain all of this. And so in that instance, after our conversation and explaining it on, I'd say a basic level, then that's kind of when I could say, you always have access to EY. They can kind of help you decide, this is an okay amount if you need to set it aside, or, you're on a good track for your age and where you're at, or even setting up something with the benefit educator so that he can more in-depth understand his plan. Because we never want somebody to feel like they can't call in or can't have that conversation. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you understand your retirement plans. And I encourage anybody who doesn't understand it or just wants a little explanation, always give us a call at our customer solutions line. And if you need something a little more in depth, we definitely have the resources that we can help with.
Yeah. Oh, what a encouraging story. I mean, it just kind of breaks our hearts. Like we're here to give that education, and we hear people like that who didn't know that they had that kind of money, that they could actually do all of this stuff. And so when I mentioned earlier about, the taking money out too fast or taking money out too slow, that's where this comes into play. So the reference of, Goldilocks, not too fast, not too slow, or for us football people out there, we want to kick that field goal. We want to kick that field goal right through the uprights. So so you want to have that as your buffer. So you have room on either side of that. So that's just a heartwarming story that you were able to help him, and that he was so excited that he wanted to, couldn't wait to call his wife and say, we
Yeah.
have this. We can have your bike.
Yeah, he's like, can I call back and ask for you with my wife so you can tell her the good news?
Exactly.
You can tell her the good news, but sure, call.
Exactly.
I'm sure she'll love to hear it. Get her that bicycle.
Exactly. So that was really, really rewarding. But then, Todd, you and I actually have conversations with people all the time with doing the benefit education consultations. So so can you tell us a little bit more about that as well?
I always go check beneficiaries
Yeah.
just because it's so important. Wespath pays out based on the beneficiaries listed in benefits access. And my personal story, my wife worked for a company at the time for 22 years, and she has a defined benefit. And I kept asking her, hey, can I go in and take a look? Let's take a look. Let's take a look. And we logged in, and I looked, and I thought, what's going on?
Yeah.
You're listed as a single person.
Uh-huh.
She's like, wait a second. So we went and looked at beneficiaries. I wasn't listed as a beneficiary. The kids were, but I wasn't. So we worked through that. We were able to enter me as a beneficiary. The option for a joint annuity showed up. Everything was good, but it just shows. And with going and checking the beneficiaries for clergy, we do consultations at least a couple a week. And during retirement season, getting to June 30th, definitely a lot more than that.
Right.
And it's not uncommon to find a clergy person who is in the same circumstance as my wife and I. Primary or secondary beneficiaries weren't up to date or
Right.
weren't there. So
Exactly.
always in a consultation before we hop off.
Yeah.
Just one more thing. Let's just check.
Let's
this.
just check that real quick just to make sure. And then, because whatever we have in benefit access supersedes your will. So anything that you have in benefit access is what's going to happen with that money that you have on if there is any money left on the account.
Yeah.
So
And I love the term that you used. Was that a benefits access tour or a BA tour?
BA walkthrough.
BA walkthrough. And I would say that's a lot of the benefit education consultations,
Yes.
which we'll cover in a couple of seconds. But to walk them through and to show where certain things are listed,
Right.
to get or located, to get a comfort level. The unknown can be
scary.
scary.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
if each day or each time you go in, you go explore a different title to see where things are located. I like to tell folks you can't break benefits access.
Right.
It's,
That's right.
It's designed to be used. It's designed for you to go in and check your account balances,
Right.
update your beneficiaries, and do all those transactional things, but also to focus on that account balance and to see where that's going.
Right. So thank you so much, Bree. So appreciate
Thank
you
you.
being here
Thank you.
and giving
you.
all this insight. It's just been wonderful. Because again, you are at the front line. So, everything starts with you. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to go forward with our resources. All right, so the resources are plentiful. All right, so we've got our customer solutions team. Of course, we have Benefits Access. You can go to that through benefitsaccess.org. We've got our one-on-one consultations that you can have with either Todd and myself or Bob, our manager, or even Frank, who's out there as well. EY Financial Planning Services, we've mentioned them so many times, but they're a wonderful resource, a great business partner of ours to be able to help you through those types of questions that, maybe they can help you with your debt or help you come up with a retirement plan. They're there to help you with all of that. Customer Solutions, again, Bree Hoffman was a wonderful person to talk up through the Customer Solutions team. Again, their phone numbers here available Monday through Friday, 8 to 6 Central Time, since that's where we're at in Illinois. And also international callers can call as well. So we do have some that are overseas, so a great way for them to get in contact with us as well. Some of those top, we've gone through these already, so we'll just zip through that. As far as the benefits access, again, wonderful information that's out there. So much information that Todd had mentioned. You're not going to break the system, but you can actually see your account information. There's what's called a benefit access tool that you can actually calculate how much you will actually could receive in retirement. So that is a tool that's out there. It's currently being updated right now to encompass the Compass plan. So keep checking back to see if that's available, and if so, you'll be able to see what your retirement would be past 2026. Again, as we mentioned, beneficiaries may make sure that information is updated, as well as so much educational and resource information is out there. So definitely go out there and register and log in. If you haven't already, we highly encourage you to go ahead and do that. As we mentioned, the one-on-one consultations, these are with us, the four of us as a benefit educator. Again, we can help with those benefit projections, do the walkthrough of the benefits access. Again, here's our link to set up an appointment. You set up your particular day and time, and then it gets assigned to one of our benefit educators. This link will also be available in the email that is sent out with the recording link for today's webinar. EY Financial Planning Services, again, talk about them so much, but they're here to help. They are not going to sell you anything. They have nothing to sell. They're there to help you, just like we are here to help you with any financial questions you may have. Your first meeting with them may take an hour or two, but that's to be able to help them understand you and your family's goals. And all the information and the money that you might have at other places. So again, they're there to give you the best information they can for you and your family. Talk to them for as many hours as you want. The fees for their service is paid through by us at Wespath. So it is a for-profit company, but you do not pay anything for them. You actually, you just call them up, tell them that you're with Wespath, and boom, you can have them. So again, no cost to you to actually call them and have their services. Again, a lot of information here. Their phone number as well as their email address is there. That you can actually sign up and actually talk with the same financial planner every time as you call. So that's a wonderful thing. So we actually have had people do that. So for like 10 plus years, they talk with the same person, and that planner is actually kind of like grown up with that family and seeing the kids get bigger and see how their goals have changed over those 10 years or so. Again, action planning wouldn't be a webinar without us having action planning steps. So again, if you haven't already enrolled, consider enrolling in UNPIP. Again, you can select the contribution amount and type. You can determine that financial investment strategy. Once you're enrolled, then you'll be given an email so that you can actually register your account at benefitaccess.org. Contact EY and actually contact us for the benefit education consultations. Again, if you're taking anything away from this, it's that Wespath and us here, we're here to help. So any questions, no silly questions whatsoever. We're here to help. So with that takes us to the end of our webinar here. So thank you so much for your time today. And Todd, thank you. And so on behalf of Todd and myself, as well as Bree Hoffman, we do thank you very much for your time today, and have a good rest of your day.